Hi, my name is Sandy Wiemers, and this is my case study presentation for ALTC 803. I chose Punishing Choices, Challenges of Mandated Reporting. So the context of the story, it is about a third grade student named Jamal Harrison at Alton Elementary School. The teacher has noticed some behavior changes as well as some physical changes that could be abuse. And the time place of the story I would think is probably in the spring. She makes references to how since Halloween, he's changed quite a bit. So I'd kind of put it maybe around February or March. So she requested a meeting with his mother to bring up her concerns. And the mom, Denise, actually volunteers in the school. She feels like they have a pretty good relationship. They'll talk when she picks him up after school, but she's present quite a bit. So she feels like she knows her pretty well and has a pretty good relationship. When she brings this up to her, she said that she was concerned because he just hasn't been himself lately. And then she said, and I'm really concerned about some bruising and a cut above his eye. So the mother denied the allegations and told her she had nothing to worry about. And she said that they parent just like everyone else does. And that's how they parent, and they use corporal punishment. And she got pretty defensive. And she did also mention that she has a new boyfriend, and that she said that it kind of been, the timeline corresponded with when the changes happened, and that Jamal was just jealous because of the extra time that she was spending with him. And then she also threatened to have him removed from Alton if the teacher kind of proceeded with this. So the teacher's really confused on what to do. And then then in the article, her co-teacher comes in and he said, so how did it go with the parent? And she kind of explains to him, and he's like, so not well. Well, the backstory with him is he had a similar situation the year before, and he took it to their principal, and their principal basically told him, you're going to report this or I will. So he did report it to Children's Services. The child, and I think there might have been a sister involved, they were removed from the home and they were placed in foster care, and then ended up being worse for them. They were separated in their foster care. I think they had multiple placements. And so now this teacher friend of hers, who she values his opinion, but he is pretty much anti-reporting because of his experience. So he kind of tells her, like, I wouldn't do it if I were you. So she's confused because she knows like what she learned, but you never know for sure. So she doesn't want to have him removed, but she's also worried about his welfare. So some background law and ethics. So where I teach in the state of Kansas, teachers are mandated reporters. By law, we have to report suspected child abuse or neglect. So the law says persons making a report when any of the following person has reason to suspect that a child has been harmed as a result of physical, mental, or emotional abuse or neglect or sexual abuse, the person shall report the matter promptly as provided in the subsections. And then where it stated that teachers, school administrators, or other employees of an educational institution which the child is attending, and persons licensed by the Secretary of Health and Environment to provide child care services, or the employees of persons so licensed at the place where the child care services are being provided to the child. So I know we've done mandated reporter training, and our counselors make sure we understand that by law we have to report any suspected abuse. It is a misdemeanor if we do not report it. So a definition of physical abuse, infliction of physical harm or the causation of a child's deterioration, and may include but shall not be limited to maltreatment or exploiting a child to the extent the child's health is endangered. So indicators of physical abuse. Obviously, there's multiple types of abuse that could occur, but physical abuse can be evident by both physical and behavioral indicators, especially in children. they, since their brains are growing and, they, with trauma, they might respond different ways. And I just included these types here because that's what was indicated in the story. So the common types of physical indicators, so bruises, welts or bite marks, burns, fractures, scars or internal injuries, lacerations, abrasions, or unusual bleeding, and head trauma. So obviously they're not just looking for, kids fall down a lot and bruise, but if they're, especially, it mentioned multiple times in what I read that if a student has some physical injuries on them and then the parents give a story and it doesn't quite match up, then that's definitely an indication. Here he has both bruises and a laceration. And then on top of that, the behavioral indicators. So demonstrating behavioral extremes, including very aggressive or demanding conduct, being full of rage, passive or withdrawn, being extremely hyperactive, distractible or irritable, sudden changes in behavior. So in the story, Miss Whitford said that he'd become very sullen and then very aggressive. So to me, which I'll get into my opinion here in a second. So my analysis, again, it's unlawful for a mandated reporter to not report abuse or neglect that they are suspicious of. They are responsible for the protection of children. And according to Kansas State Statute KSA 382223, anyone can make a report when they have reason to suspect that a child has been harmed as a result of abuse or neglect. The reason to suspect is defined as a suspicion or belief that abuse and or neglect may have occurred, or a discrepant or inconsistent history in explaining what happened. So, for example, their bruising happened from a fall, but the bruising on the body doesn't match up with that explanation. So, in my belief, the teacher does need to report the concern to Child Protective Services because of the change in behavior and the noticing of the bruising and cut. Also, this isn't an indicator according to the state statute, but the conversation that she had. So she did try to take a step to find out what was going on. And the conversation with the mom brought more concerns, in my opinion. She became very defensive and threatened to have her son removed. So if it were me, this would solidify my decision to report. So bottom line, the teacher has reason to suspect that he is being harmed, and it is unlawful for her to not report it. I've actually had situations where a student begged and cried to me not to report because the last time it was reported to DCF, they were kept in the home, but the abuse that was going on, it worsened. And so I really, really, really struggled with that. But I kept telling myself I couldn't live with myself if something happened more severe. So it's honestly the part of my job I hate because I hate being in that position. But that's where why the mandated reporter laws are there, because we are not the experts in child abuse. But we do have to relay that information. So again, it is my opinion that she has to report her suspicions, especially as elementary teachers. They spend so much time with those students. So I feel like they, especially into the year, they have a pretty good idea if something's going on in the child's life. And if she's noticing these changes, I mean, sounds cliche, but just her gut instinct to me would be enough. I mean, along with what she's seen, then I would definitely want to report that. In my situation, I was brand new. I actually wasn't hired by the school district. I was hired to teach a class at the high school, and we were funded through DCF. So I really didn't get a lot of the training that teachers did. And I went to the counselors because I wasn't sure what to do. And that's when they kind of helped me understand that I had to report this. So that is my stance. And then my references right here. And that is all.